Hello, and welcome to SoberCast, where we provide AA speaker meetings and workshops in podcast format. We're an ad-free podcast, and if you enjoy listening, please help us be self-supporting by visiting Sobercast.com, look for the donate link, and drop $1 or $2 into our virtual basket. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. Have a great day.
Nope.
Great. Hi, my name is Nicola, I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Nicola.
And I got sober on 10th of June, 99. That is a long time ago, over 10 years. And I was 26 at the time. I'm now 37. And 2 days later, I was in my first AA meeting. So I didn't get to AA meetings and got sober. When I was in my first AA meeting, 2 days after I was sober, I didn't even know I was alcoholic. I actually went there to find out what you guys do so I could tell somebody else how to get sober. And I was very amazed. It was a big crowd like here, like maybe 300 people at the Old Town speaker meeting in San Diego. And people didn't look like alcoholics. I can tell you that. They had like suits and, the women had jewelry, To me, they didn't look like alcoholics at all. None, and they were happy, they were laughing, and I'm thinking, what is so funny about being an alcoholic, Why are they cracking up? And I don't know what happened really. I was sitting there and I was just looking around the room. I didn't pay any attention to anything they said because I didn't get what they were saying anyway. They were talking steps and traditions and stuff. Same readings like here, and I didn't know what that meant. I just looked at people and they looked really good and they looked like they had fun. They were excited. And then this transvestite gets up and starts telling his story. I'm like, what is going on, And I didn't really listen to, because people were laughing at the saddest stuff, That person was sharing how he, in the 70s, really freaked out and, prison and hooker and whatever. And I was like, why are these people laughing? This is sad, So I totally didn't get the whole concept. And, then he shared that he was lying in the bush and he was so drunk he couldn't move anymore. And somebody was choking him and he almost died, and his mind went clear all of a sudden. But he couldn't move because he was so drunk. And I'm thinking, I want to be so drunk, This is what I want. I want to be so fucking hammered. Great, And then the next thought I had was, I shouldn't think this, I should be really concerned about this kind of thinking, Maybe I shouldn't drink for a while. So and this is how I really decided to not drink anymore for a while, just to, don't have thoughts like this anymore, of course. And then I would go on with my life. And what happened is I expected, when I wouldn't drink anymore, that my life would get better. But instead, it got worse. Much worse, Not maybe on the outside because I had no job anyway, but I felt really, really bad, And my mind started going really, really fast. All of a sudden I'm thinking and thinking and thinking, and there is no break. I want to drink even more, Now I'm 5 days sober, and I'm thinking, shit, I should have get hammered before this meeting, I missed 2 days. If I would have known this, I would have drunk more days, Damn it. So what do you do now? And I'm thinking, I need to figure out what they're doing. How do they stay sober, for God's sake, Because I don't want to be sober. And so I went back to these meetings, and people walked up to me and said, are you new? I'm like, no, I'm just hanging out. I'm not thinking I'm an alcoholic. I just need, to think less and, feel better. So they walked up to me all the time, so I decided not to come early. I come late, Actually, what they did in these meetings I went to, they were going around the room saying, my name is Thomas and I'm an alcoholic, and everybody, hi, Thomas, and then my name is Betty, I'm an alcoholic, hi, Betty. So what I did, I stayed in the basement and waited until I didn't hear this moaning anymore, So then I knew the meeting had started, I could sneak in and they wouldn't talk to me. And so I have, this basement, I know everything about this. I was in a school there, pictures of kids and priests and whatever. I don't know. So I'm growing up, and then I tried to look very intimidating, so they wouldn't call on me, or I would grab the book from the table. They had always a book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and read really concentrated, so they don't talk to me and don't call on me, because in these meetings they were calling on you. I'm like, shit. And so then I left early, of course, otherwise they come up to you again, ask, and then, introduce themselves. And I didn't want this. I didn't want them to think I'm alcoholic either, because I don't know these people. And that was very a shameful thing, I didn't want to be an alcoholic. I didn't even know what an alcoholic was, And so at first I needed to decide, like, am I an alcoholic or not? So I started asking people, what makes an alcoholic? And they didn't tell you, they told me all kind of stuff would make them know they're an alcoholic, but not how would I know that, no. They said, like, I just knew. I'm like, I don't know. So this is not helping. And you could ask everybody, and they never told you you were an alcoholic. They never said, yes, I can see from your behavior or something. They just never said that. They just talked about them. And I thought this was very weird. Now I want to know, and nobody is answering me. So one guy said, it's like German soccer championship, if you win the trophy 3 times, you can keep it. So, but I never won the trophy, so I'm being there, my mind is going really fast, and I'm freaking out, and I want to drink really bad, even, more than before. And I'm thinking, maybe I'm getting stressed into this, Now I'm thinking I'm an alcoholic. Maybe I am no alcoholic. What do I do, And then they had the San Diego meeting schedule, which I brought with me. And they had 20 questions in the front. That was good stuff. Finally, Did you lose time from work to drinking? And I'm like, I have no job. No. Yeah. Did drinking make your home life unhappy? No. I'm happy when I drink, so this makes no sense. Has drinking affected your reputation? Drinking not, but drugs. So alcohol? No. That was easy. So when I went through these questions, it said stuff like, did you drink to escape from your problems or worries? Well, sometimes. Okay. One yes, Did you drink alone? Yes. Have you ever had a complete loss of memory as a result of drinking? Of course. This is why I drink. Yes. Did you have a hard time sleeping because of your drinking? I'm blacking out. No. So when I went through these questions, I thought, well, great, I have only 10, And then it said, if you answered yes to 3 or more questions, you may be an alcoholic. I'm like, shit, You may be an alcoholic. No, I don't know anyway, I don't know again. So I keep asking people. And I'm sitting in these meetings, and one guy said, non-alcoholics, they don't sit in meetings and wonder if they're alcoholics. And I thought that was a trick question. Because now I'm thinking about it, And, that I don't drink and I don't feel good about it, that could have been a clue, but it didn't hit me. So, finally somebody told me and said, if you want to know if you're an alcoholic, just put 30 shots of whiskey and drink 1 every day. And I didn't need to do that, I knew what would happen. I would have 1, and then I would think, you know what? I have 2 today, and then none tomorrow. Much better idea. And then I would probably take 3 and say, you know what, this is an even better idea. And I knew for sure, I don't know how many days I would have made it, but not 30 days. That was kind of obvious, even from the, idea. So I kind of said, okay, maybe I am an alcoholic, because this is like I can't do this. I know I can't do this, and normal people can't do this. And I said, okay, I maybe am an alcoholic. So what do I do now? And I asked the guy, like, how do you stay sober? And they're like, we work the steps. Like, what steps? They're in the book. What book? Yeah, the book that's in front. And he had one in his car in the, what's the name? Glove box, genau. And when we went doing errands, every time he'd get out of the car, I open the thing, I'd try to find the steps and, figure out what to do. And then I'm back putting it back in. And I found 3 and 4 and 5, but I never found 1 and 2. Like, where are they? The book says, now you're at step 4, now you're at step 3, now you're at step 5. But it never says you're at step 2 and 1. And I couldn't find it. And finally, one guy, he gave me a book, because I never would have bought one, because then people might think I'm an alcoholic, right? So that guy gave me a book, and he gave me tons of speaker tapes. He gave me 300 speaker tapes he had at home. And I listened to them because that would quiet my mind. Yeah, I would listen to like 100 speaker tapes all the time, nonstop. I had no job, and it would. I got answers on these tapes, from people sharing, and I learned stuff, and I could stay a day sober because there was not like 100 voices in my head, just one, So, and then I decided I want to work the steps. And I got tapes of Joe and Charlie, and they helped me working the steps and stuff. But at the beginning, where it says first step, we're powerless over alcohol, and like, I'm not powerless, but I can't drink anymore. I know that, And then it said, your life is unmanageable. I'm like, okay, I agree, because I could not work. I could not even leave the house sometimes. I had fear attacks that, I would just lie on my floor and go like this and scream. And I had kind of weird hallucinations. I had a dragon sometimes that I saw, a green big one. I remember I'm sitting on the corner on the street with my friends, and they get up behind me and they start talking, and the dragon is right next to them. And I'm thinking, if I tell them, they lock me up. And sometimes I had this bread with sausage on it in my bed. I smelled it, and then I looked for it. But I never eat sausage, so there was none. But I smelled it, so I'm looking through the whole bed, and I can't find it. I was just crazy, And I had weird hallucinations, seeing stuff. And one time even, I was on the bus stop, and I saw a guy cutting up other people from here with a knife, and all their inside stuff fell on the floor. And I'm thinking, they're not screaming, I don't know if this is really happening. I was really crazy. And I had the number of the local nut ward in my pocket in case things get really tough. And, just decided, let's try to get by every day. It could definitely not work. There was no option. And I lived on social money and, tried to not drink. So, and then I could say my life was unmanageable, kind of. And I didn't believe in God, so I couldn't say, well, I came to believe that there is a God that would help me. But I thought the steps would maybe help, because people had told me this over and over, and they seemed to be kind of happy and going, living a good life. So I believed that the steps, would give me back my sanity. And I decided to put my life over to the steps, and do what they do, what they say, no matter if I want to do it or not. Just do it. Because I had no alternative anyway, and that was good enough. Yeah, and then I wanted to do a 4th step. Of course, I didn't know how to do it, and I couldn't really understand the book. I was too crazy to read it. So I asked this guy I knew from my hometown, and he said his sponsor had faxed him a list. So we went to his house, and he gave me these fax papers. And these days, they were rolled up, remember? And we were trying to figure this out, how it's work. And I did the list. And this list really amazed me, I put down first, it said, put down everybody you're angry at. I'm like, these 5 people, no problem, mom, dad, teacher, I don't know. This and this friend, done. Ex-boyfriend. And then I said, come, think about it. And I sat down and I really tried to feel angry, like, I feel angry. And then names came up, oh yeah, this guy, and this guy, and this guy. And all of a sudden I felt so angry that I wrote for an hour and freaked out, and then I threw the whole thing around the corner You know, I said, I don't do this shit anymore. This is bullshit. It makes me even feel worse. And my boyfriend at the time drinking said, why do you do it? You know, stop doing it. I'm like, no, I can't, you know. I freak out. I need to do this shit. So I waited a week, and then I took it back again, and that way it took me 8 weeks to do it. And then I put all this, like, it affected my, you know, self-esteem and what's happened. I don't know how to explain this better than filled out the list. And then I look at myself, as it says, you know, have you been dishonest with these people? And to my, you know, very much amazed self, I had stuff done in the past that had led to these happenings. Actually, I've behaved very selfish and dishonest and fearful, and I had expected healthy behavior from sick people and, you know, behaved very sick myself. And that was kind of like a shock to me, because the whole list said that I had parts in these things. And I'm thinking, this can't be true, so I'm doing it again. You know? I did the whole thing again. I crossed everything, a second cross, different color, to make sure that this is no trick. But there was no different result. So I did this one again, just to make sure, you know. And by this time, I had more yes. You know, it was bad. So I decided to share this with my sponsor. That was the only guy that was under 30 that, you know, didn't smoke and was 100 in my meeting. And he came to my house, and he didn't know how to do a fifth step either, because he had never done one. And we just sat down and said, come on, let's do this. You know? So I read this stuff to him. And in my mind, it felt like it was like 14 hours or something. As a matter of fact, it was only 3 hours. And I was just like finished. You know, I needed to sleep like a week or something. And I ate 3 pizzas after the whole event, because I was so, you know, my body was just done. And it was terrible thing. But what's funny about it, you know, I shared this stuff with him. He was gay, so he didn't care what I did with guys. And I said, you know, I feel really bad about this. And he said, yeah, but you're not the only person that wants to do these things. That is typical alcoholic behavior. You know, if you would be the only person that wants to do these things, there would be no law against it. That made sense, you know. He said, if everybody, you know, if nobody but you would like to do this, they would have no law, and you would just go to the nut ward. They would put you away because you would be crazy. But this is normal. All people want to do this. But, you know, and some do this, you know, and they either get caught or not. But, you know, that is normal alcoholic behavior. Okay, done, you know. And I thought, okay, this is it. That guy will never speak to me again, ever, you know. He will maybe at the next meeting just say hi and then, you know, turn away and talk to somebody else, because he probably, you know, doesn't want nothing to do with me anymore now. So at the next meeting, I just watched him, you know, very close. Like, did he look different? You know, maybe he looked when I didn't look, you know, so I'm checking this whole scene out. And, well, but he was the same. He's like, see you next week, you know, and he didn't change. And not for weeks, same thing. So I like, okay, he seems, you know, he seems to still talk to me, you know. And I thought, maybe I'm not that bad. Maybe I'm not the worst person in the world, and maybe I'm okay. You know, that was a very big step for me. And then we had 6, and we didn't know what to do because we had no clue. And then I flew back to San Diego and went to a meeting that had topics 6 and 7, and asked, like, what do I need to do? Please tell me what I need to do. And they said, yeah, you have to make a list with your character defects that you found out about. And you would never exercise those character defects if it wouldn't be something, you know, if you wouldn't getting something out of this. You're an alcoholic. You always want to get something, you know. So you have a, was ist Vorteil? Advantage of these things. Oh, this is falling down. Jerome, did I need to do something? Help me. So go home and write next to each character defect your advantage that you get from those. I'm like, okay. So I went back home, lying. I don't need to behave as good as I should. Great advantage. And then they said I should write next to this how I could get the same advantage without behaving antisocial. So I said, well, not behaving as good as I want to. Maybe I need to change my wants. Yeah, Or I wrote, I steal, big advantage, money. I like money. And how can I get this in a social way, not antisocial, where I could work more? I didn't expect that, And sometimes it was really hard finding out, what to do instead, because I had never thought something like this in my life. I had always, tried to find the easier, softer way. And so I had this new behavioral list, I should work, adjust my attitude, and all kind of shit, And then I was supposed to pray, and ask that my character defects would be taken away. And by that time, I just said, oh, I can't hurt because there is no God anyway. So I prayed it. And there we were at 8, 9. Great. So what do we do now? And on these tapes I had gotten from my sponsor, they said it's about, putting balance back in life. So if you stole something, you give it back. It's not about saying, I stole something from you, sorry. It's about giving it back, maybe with interest. I'm like, ew, so I stole a lot, And I have no job. That was bad. Anyway, I had these people. I had over 100 people, and I didn't know who to start with. I didn't even want to go to one of them. I mean, none. And I made decisions. Oh, this is easy. This is middle easy. This is never. And I tried to figure out who to go to first. And weeks are going by. I'm not doing shit. Feeling worse. Thoughts are coming back. And so I just decided to do it alphabetically. Start at the top. And I went first to a girl that had the initials BB, And I met her. All of a sudden, in the bus, there she is, I didn't know at the time that if you really want to make amends to somebody, they show up in your life. But they will. They show up in the weirdest places. You would never think so, but they do. So she was on the bus. I'm like, hi, good to see you. You wouldn't have thought this. I wanted to call you anyway, really, Why is that? Yeah, I need to make amends to you. And she's like, really? That excited her. Yeah, and we met up, and I said I was sorry for this and this behavior, and she's like, yeah, and you did this and this and this and this and this. And I'm like, oh, right. Yeah, and you promised me to cook for me when I finish my studies. I'm like, oh, yeah, right, I remember. You can cook for me and finally keep your promise. I'm like, I do this. So she comes to my house, and we're cooking soup together. I mean, she's sitting there watching me cutting shit, because she's just enjoying this. Like this. And I'm cooking, and, we're talking, and I made the soup with her, and we ate the soup, and everything kind of, went at peace. And this is how I did my 9th step with everybody. I called them up, and I tried to set the wrong right and give back the money, For example, the money I stole from the government, that I told them stuff, and they gave me money. Germany is very giving. I had no money to give back, but instead of, at that time, I had the right to get money from them because I was so crazy I couldn't work. And so I didn't ask them for more money and just left them the money because I couldn't give it back actively, so I gave it back passively. And, it was a fun time. Really. I hated it. I hated it big time. I went to 10 people, on one weekend, and then I didn't do shit for 20 days because I was exhausted and I hated my life. But what happened is all of a sudden I could go to parts of town that I haven't been in a while because I thought they were ugly or not good anyway or something. Or I would find myself at stores that I haven't been to in a while because I thought they had no good stuff anyway after I stole from them years ago, Because my world was getting smaller and smaller when I drank because I had to avoid people and places, And I thought I avoided them because they're all bullshitty assholes, suckers. But the truth was that I was afraid to meet them, and it was all hidden behind aggressiveness? Yeah. And lies. And I didn't know that, And in the process, I found that out, and all of a sudden I'm walking through my town, and going, oh, this is kind of a nice area, And I felt better. I didn't notice right away, but I noticed on these things that my life just got bigger, and I started working. Not every day, of course. But I found a work where I could come twice a week for 4 hours, and that was all I could do. I worked for 4 hours and then I went home and slept 2 more days because I was just done and couldn't really go to work for every day. But it got better, and then I could work every day, 5 hours. And then I could work 6 hours, and finally I could work 8 hours like a normal person, And this all happened parallel to the process of doing these 9 steps. What time is it?
8:45.
Does it mean how much time I have left? 10 minutes, great, because my story is at the end. Yeah. And, it reads that in the book. It says, if you are painstaking about this phase of our development, and it says it in step 9, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. And this is exactly what happened to me. Halfway through step 9, I was already amazed, because I started realizing that my misery was partly of my own making. I had thought it was everybody else's fault. My parents are crazy and they drink and they hit me and whatever, and school, school, this sucks. And boyfriends and girlfriends and everybody, it was everybody's fault but mine, of course. And all of a sudden I find out it's kind of my fault, and the program gave me a tool to correct these faults, and it gave me power. It gave me power back because I felt like this is all happening to me, Like my misery is happening to me and life is after me, trying to, what's the word? I don't know. But actually, I did all this to myself and I didn't know that, And that gave me hope and power. And that was kind of amazing because I didn't expect that, When you have to admit you're an alcoholic, for God's sake, and then, I don't know. And it says, we are going to know new freedom and happiness. And when I was drinking, I woke up in the morning thinking, oh my God, after the blackout, I'm back. 70 more years of this. How can I best kill myself without pain? And I tried to figure out ways to kill myself every day. I can jump here, or I can cut my... But I was always afraid it would hurt me, and if I take pills, maybe I take not enough, and then they wake me up again, or if I jump down there, maybe I don't land right, and then I will be in the hospital, and, so I wanted to kill myself, but I was too afraid to do it, because I was scared that something goes wrong, and it would be painful. And after working the steps, I thought, great, a new day, what adventure do we do today, And I didn't know that, and that was freedom and happiness that I didn't have before. Because before I just tried to survive every day and be, because of the way I felt, just be gone most of the time and not feel anything. It says, we will not regret the past or nor wish to shut the door on it, And today I don't regret my past anymore. Bad stuff has happened to me, like probably to everybody else, even though I feel very special about this. But today I have a feeling that these things that happened to me, brought me closer to my bottom earlier. and I got sober at 26. And that's a good thing. My crazy parents probably contributed, but without them, I might have, drank until 50 or something, and would have missed 25 years of fun. So I don't regret it anymore, and I don't wish to shut the door on it either. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. Today I experience peace because what I learned in these 9 steps is that stuff is happening, You think about these people and they show up and, meet the right people and they say the right things and everything is just like woven together. And today I can see this carpet or whatever it turns out to be, at least, I can see that these things are woven together and that gives me peace. And when I'm afraid and I don't see the picture anymore, then I try to remember that at least in the past it was that way, and then I kind of expect it to be in the future the same. So that is a nice state of mind. It reads, no matter how far down the scale we have gone, we see our experience can benefit others. And this is what happened to me when I do 5th step with other girls. Because they sit there and they sweat and they're like afraid and they jitter, and they think they're the worst girl in the world. And then they come up with their big secret, I'm thinking, you're talking to the right girl. I have some experience on this to share. And it gives me a feeling of usefulness and that it didn't happen for no reason. I even had a sponsor once that said, I recommend the really fucked up ones, I recommend to you. Because I don't have these experiences. That was funny. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. And this is what sponsorship today does. It gives you a feeling of usefulness because if you sponsor a lot of people and most of them don't want to work the steps because it's really hard work. If you really do them, it's no fun. It's like becoming a karate pro. In the meantime, you really hurt your hand a lot, and it's the training is not the fun part. So they don't really go through it, but some do. And those few who go through, that's just a blast to see them become happy. They come in and they're crazy and sad and they want to kill themselves and they become seriously and deep happy. That is really fun to watch, and you don't feel useless at all. It says we lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. And self-seeking will slip away. Well, I will not say I'm not selfish. And you all know this would be a lie if I would. But I'm not as self-centered and selfish as I was when I started. Even today, sometimes I call people up when they had surgery and ask them how it went. I would have never done that in the past. Because first, I wouldn't have listened to them when they told me. Second, I wouldn't have remembered. Third, I wouldn't have cared, And of course, I would have never remembered when it was over, or even cared how they're doing. Because that's none of my business, and I don't get anything out of this. But today, that's different. Today, I'm really interested, like, how did it went? And I call them up. And sometimes I'm amazed because I know where I'm coming from. And this is not where I'm coming from, I assure you. So, I'm not Gandhi, but compared to where I came from, I am Gandhi. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. And that's true too, because my outlook upon life was negative, because all of my thinking was negative. All my experience with life was negative. And this is not how it is today, When you had my feelings before I worked the steps, you would have wanted to drink too, I remember sitting at a meeting, or after a meeting, we were sitting together having coffee, and somebody asked me how I'm doing, so I'm telling them, I'm like, da, 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 da. And then I said to him, what would you do if you would have my problems? And he said, I would drink, And I say, see, this is what I think. Yeah, I want to drink too. But this is not how I live today. Today I enjoy my life. And even if bad stuff happens, like a year ago, I couldn't walk, I'm not discouraged. I would just, sometimes, I'm lying in the bathtub crying, but that's like 10 minutes. And then I'm looking at the positive side and think, okay, I can't walk. Great, my sponsors can all come over. I have 2 girls who need to do a 5th step. Great timing. I have time. Come on over. So I'm just using the things different and play the ball different. Before I would just say, oh, poor me, and it's all so bad. And this is not how I live my life today. This is very different from how I live my life today. And then it says at the 9th step still, right, the promises, we will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. And I had experience in this while I was visiting my dad. As one of my 9th steps, I decided that I was never a good daughter to my dad. I took drugs and had boys over and all kind of shit. So stealing, lying. So I decided to be a good daughter and show up every week. Because in TV, they always complain and say, you never visit us. So I decided that's probably what they want. And I tried to visit my dad every week. And once I couldn't make it, I came after 3 weeks. And the elevator door slides up. And I'm in the apartment with my dad because its door goes into the apartment. And it goes up. And he screams at me, you haven't been here for 3 weeks. And my first reaction was, fuck you, I'm out of here. I don't want to be here anyway. But for some reason, I thought what he meant, and he actually meant, I wasn't there, and he kind of had missed me or something, He had this weird way of telling me, of course, and we can all say if it's appropriate or not, but it was the best he could do. And so I said, I missed you too, Dad. I'm thinking, what am I doing, And then he looked at me like stunned and said, yeah, me too, So that was not a thought. That was more an intuition, and this is how my intuition has changed. Kind of, it was a good example of that. So it reads, we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. And I assure you, I would have never been able to do this by myself, for myself. First I would have never believed this is what I get when I work these steps. Never, because these steps had nothing to do with how I felt or my life, I thought. And today I enjoy life, and that was a feeling I never even knew, even before I was drinking. Even as a kid, I didn't enjoy my life. I had fun, more fun than my parents thought I should have, but I didn't enjoy my life. That's a very different thing from having a good night, being drunk someplace. And today, I enjoy my life, and this change has not been brought to myself by myself. It has been more like a gift, that something I got from doing something I didn't think would have anything to do with it, and there's the gift, Great, thanks. So, and then it reads, are these extravagant promises? And what do we think about this? We think not, because we know they're fulfilled among us. And people who have worked the steps know what I'm talking about, and they will tell you the same things. So, if you're wondering if you're an alcoholic, this is no problem. Just keep coming back, Try to drink 30 shots of whiskey in 30 days. And maybe you find something here that you didn't expect. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Sobercast is ad-free, and we'd like your help in order to keep it that way. So if you'd like to help us be self-supporting by pledging $1 or $2 a month, visit Sobercast.com and look for the donate links. Thank you very much.